I want to take you to Costa Rica many, many years ago. I was in Costa Rica, just sent my second daughter off to university, and I got on my knees to pray, and I received immediately, I knew I was going to get revelation, so I got up, got a pencil and pad, got back down, told, get to America, get all your stuff, get all your materials, all your intellectual property out of America immediately. I did that, came back to Costa Rica. I got it out just in time, it turns out. I get it down to Costa Rica. I go out to dinner with Frank and Greg Hawks. I'm sitting there at Carriari Hotel with someone in the Italian restaurant playing the 9-foot Steinway. And I said, I feel so anxious that I have to do something immediately, but I don't know what it is. Frank Hawks looked across the table and said, you need to go to Iceland. I said, that's it. Now, I never, ever thought about going to Iceland, but he said, I'll take care of the tickets, take care of everything, put you up with a place to stay, don't worry about anything, get your stuff packed. The next day, I'm on a plane. 36 hours later, I land in Iceland. Can't sleep for that 36 hours, but I land in Iceland that morning. I am outside of Inge's bed and breakfast, and I'm with the two men that picked me up at the airport, never met him before. I said, will you pray with me? I don't know why I'm here. Quite a confession to make. We prayed, and as soon as we ended up praying, I said, when I wake up, I'll know why I'm here. Went to bed. It's early in the morning. Get to bed. A few hours later, slamming on the door flings open. Inge comes in. Something terrible has happened in America. I swing my feet to the bed. I sit down. I look at him. I say, that's what we've been waiting for. I throw on my house coat, walk into the television room, and there I watched the second plane slam into the World Trade Center. That afternoon, I was on nationwide television. Radio stations, TV, all week long. And then I presented the great secret of Solomon's Temple to a group that had crowded in to hear as people assembled from all over the island of Iceland. I was there exactly when I was supposed to be. My ticket was to return. I was the last plane in, and I was the first plane out a week later. Everything was shut down because the World Trade Centers came down. But I had the voice and the ear of the entire nation of Iceland for the entire week. Why? Because someone came from Israel the week before who was called the crazy man from Israel, who was on the television every night being replayed. He was called the crazy man from Israel because he said the Muslims were about to do something so radical it will change the face of planet Earth. And they were making fun of him all week long. He gets on a plane on the day before I arrive. He is out and he's back in Israel. And the morning I arrive, the World Trade Centers come down. So the Almighty set it up to where I would be heard, the message would be heard, and the crazy man from Israel was out and he was gone. What I didn't know that was going on right at this very moment is that in Israel, Nehemiah Gordon, whose job was working on the scientific publication of the Aleppo Codex. This is the official scientific version for the state of Israel. The shrine of the book in Israel is a nuclear blast vault. It is really not to preserve the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the Aleppo Codex, which is the most important Hebrew manuscript on the planet. It is the oldest vocalized text of the Hebrew scriptures, and the state of Israel wanted to do the official scientific version of it. And so what they are doing is that they have a number of scholars that are proofreading it and checking each other's work. Nehemiah Gordon is like number 5 in line. Nehemiah is from a rabbinic line, 33 generations of rabbis coming out of Lithuania. And Nehemiah Gordon has had a burden to understand the pronunciation of the name of the Almighty for several years. Coming from a rabbinic source, they don't even speak the name. But what happens is right at this very moment, Nehemiah Gordon is reading and proofing. He's like number 5 in line, proofing, and he goes for hours without finding one little dot, one jot, one tittle, one vowel or consonant that is out of place from the previous ones who have done the proofreading on this. And he says it's the most mind-numbing job that he's ever done in his life. But then he comes to the name, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and there it is. It's got the three vowel pointings. Now, all rabbinic scholars know that with only two vowel pointings on, the name is unpronounceable. You don't know how to pronounce the name Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh because there are only two vowel points in here. But here he comes to it, and it's got three vowel pointings. And so he pronounces it, Yehovah, Yehovah, Yehovah. Bam, the phone rings. Someone tells him a plane just hit the World Trade Center. He has no idea what this is about. It happened before. A little plane hit the World Trade Center, no big deal. But he logs it in, and it sounds serious, but he logs it in, puts the phone down. Now, he says, I stop what I'm doing, and I start searching. I'm just looking. Every occurrence of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, I'm going through the Aleppo Codex. I'm looking for all these things in this manuscript that's been provided for him. And here it is. He finds a second one with all three vowel pointings. See, the rabbis kept the third vowel pointing out because in the 2nd century, Rome forbid the speaking of the name. A rabbi was proudly proclaiming the names in the streets in the Galilee. Rome caught him, wrapped him in a Torah scroll, stuffed it with wet cotton, and burned him to death on the street, torturing him to death. So the rabbis got together and said, we are going to forbid the people from speaking the name. That way they're obeying us and not Rome. That's where it all started, ladies and gentlemen. And now they don't put the third vowel pointing in the vocalized text. The Masoretes didn't do it. And so this is what Nehemiah is now searching for. And then he finds, here's the second time, he finds it, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, with the vowel pointings, and he pronounces it, Yehovah, Yehovah, Yehovah. And then bam, the phone rings. The second plane hit the World Trade Center. What happened before each plane hit the World Trade Center? There were those crying out in those planes, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater. Allah is greater. Allah is greater. Allah is a fictitious moon god. At the moment that they were doing something that changed the world, the Almighty was not going to let his name to be forgotten.
The Jews would not pronounce the divine name. And in fact, if you walk into a Jewish bookstore today, you can really get yourself in trouble if you use the divine name. I had a professor in Bible college who knew Hebrew. He was invited to a synagogue, and since they knew he knew Hebrew, they invited him to read the text. And he forgot about that little rule and went ahead and read it as it actually is, rather than substituting. When the Jews today read the Hebrew, they will either substitute Adonai for Yahweh, or they will use Hashem, the name. He forgot about that and said Yahweh, and they were extremely offended and never invited him back. So that's something you don't want to do.
Rudimentary explanation. The Hebrew word shav, commonly translated vain or vanity, means empty, worthless, or even false. The commandment to not take the Creator's name in vain is most often understood to refer to blasphemy, such as using his name as a curse. While this is certainly something that we should never do, most of the world seems to be perpetrating an even more severe violation of this commandment every day by altogether replacing his name with general, empty, or false titles, and even forgetting it altogether. We have truly regarded his name, which is the name above all names, as worthless. In its place, they instructed them to call on Baal, which does not necessarily refer to a specific false god, but in Hebrew, Baal is simply the word for master or husband, the same indistinct title as Adonai or Lord. Therefore, because the Gentiles cry out in repentance for the abominations that they have inherited, behold, I will this once cause the Gentiles to understand. I will cause them to know by experience my hand and my might, and they, the Gentiles, shall know that my name is, and the King James Version reads, the Lord. The Lord is not even a name. It is simply a title given to every British landowner for the past 1,000 years. That is no great revelation. But every time you see capital L, capital O, capital R, and capital D in your King James Version of the Bible, the Hebrew letters are Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, which is the name of the Lord. It was a Messianic Pharisee, Shaul, known as Paul, who warned, Do not give heed to Jewish traditions and fables which turn away from the truth. He did not say that all or even most Jewish traditions do this, but that we must reject the ones that do. The hiding of the holy name is one of those traditions, one of those commandments of men, which not only turns away from the truth, but was the primary cause for the destruction of the Second Temple by Rome. Before the Babylonian captivity, Jeremiah rebuked the priesthood and said, "Because you have taught my people to swear by Baal, or the Lord, instead of calling upon my name, Yahweh, I am going to send the entire nation into captivity. When you return, if you still refuse to teach my name to my people, I will utterly pluck up and destroy the nation." And that is why the temple was destroyed, and the entire nation of Israel was exiled from the land by the year 135 of the Common Era. The reason he brought us out of Egypt was to make his name known throughout the earth. Because of their man-made commandments, the priests stopped teaching the people his name. So it was back into captivity one more time around the mountain. This is why I changed, because of the research, the detail that's been given out. Because all those who call upon the name of Yahweh, they will be saved. We had an incident. One of our staff members, their cousin, went to a party. Someone slipped her Mickey. She's brain dead. They haul her out of her. She's brain dead. They finally put her body on ice because she's an organ donor. Her body is literally on ice. No brain waves. They're going to harvest her organs. And we then get together and pray. And I pray that if his name is to be known in all the earth, and that if he's let us know his name, that his name is to be pronounced Yehovah, I am praying that this will be the miracle that lets us know. Unbeknownst to us, the family decides that her 2-year-old son needs to say goodbye to her. The family asked that they warm her body back up so her child does not remember her as an ice-cold cadaver in ice. So they take her off ice. They warm her body up to regular room temperature. Her son comes in, gives her a kiss on the cheek. She opens her eyes. A week later, she walks out of the hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, you can pronounce it however you want. It can't be proven in a court of law how it's to be pronounced. It can be proven in a court of law how, according to this ancient text, the Aleppo Codex, and subsequently the Leningrad Codex at St. Petersburg was found 2 times with a name with all 3 vowel points, and twice again in the book of the prophets, the ancient Hebrew book. It's only in Hebrew. It's not even, I don't think anything has been done in English, but it appears there twice. Nehemiah found it in each one of these places. After listening to all the evidence on this, that is why I now speak the name the way I do. That's why I had to do this. See, we have to depend upon the Holy Spirit in this time, because even the Gentiles will know his name. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I've been given a voice to the world. We're in over 180 countries. You're hearing this so that you can start speaking the name and seeing the miracles happen in your life.